Hello and welcome to Sam Not So Wise. My name is Sam. Today I've got a tag video for you. The tag master himself, Shanin over at Shanin Shelf, my good friend, has tagged me in 2 tag videos recently. So I'm not going to have time to do both of those because I've got a bunch of ideas of videos swirling around my empty head and I want to get to them soon. My next video is going to be about Octavia E. Butler's Earthseed duology because I just finished reading it this morning and I really want to talk about it, but I need some time to ruminate and think about what I'm going to say. So this is nice for me to just slip in now. And the one I've chosen from the 2 is the I'll get to it later tag. So basically a tag all about our favorite subject, our favorite thing in our life, which is the TBR. So with much further ado, let's talk about what I have to read. So we've got 7 prompts today, and the first one is a classic book that you've been meaning to read forever but haven't read yet. Oh, only about 300. I've barely read any classics, to be honest. I'm very much a sci-fi and fantasy focused person. I've read a few, not got along with a lot of them, but I really want to, and I want to try more, especially as I mature more as a reader. But to steer things towards the sci-fi fantasy side, I will talk about a couple, and one is Orlando by Virginia Woolf. I really want to read this because I hear that it's basically kind of a time travel story. At least this character Orlando lives a very long time in different guises as a different person. So that sounds super interesting to me. I really want to get to that. And it's only a little baby, so that's good. So I am a fan of Lord of the Rings, but I've never read The Silmarillion. I consider Lord of the Rings basically a classic of sci-fi fantasy. So I will reread it sometime, and when I do, I want to pick up the Silmarillion because I feel like it's very necessary, especially with a kind of Lord of the Rings type YouTube name that I have. I should really know what I'm talking about, which I don't. Anyway, I'm also going to be studying English soon. I'm going to be going back to university. I studied a degree and a master's in music, but I've decided to go back to school and learn English as an academic course. So I'm sure there are going to be lots and lots of classics I have to read in that because there are literature courses and I'm looking forward to it. Prompt number 2 is a book on your shelf you haven't read yet. I mean, quite a few, many. It doesn't help that I keep buying them when I see them cheap because that's how I like to do it, in secondhand bookshops or the Kindle store, where I find them for like £1 each, which is classic. We all know this problem. We all have this problem. I'm not a collector, but I love buying books. So I'll mention some of the ones on my Kindle that I've had for a while because I've got about 40, 50 unread books on my Kindle. But these are the ones that have been there for a while and I'm still interested in. It's so Black Song Thief by Christopher Buehlman. I really want to get to that. The Green Mile by Stephen King. Big Stephen King fan and I need to read that. Ancillary Justice, which is by Anne Leckie, and it's a trilogy which is about AI and distant future tech, which is my bag, so I'm very interested in that. And Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. I feel like that is almost essential reading if you're on YouTube, so I really want to get to that as well. So prompt number 3 is a book you recently got that you haven't read yet. Again, I'm kind of constantly buying books, 2 or 3 a month, maybe, I don't know. But the most recent ones I bought in physical a couple of weeks ago, which I talked about in another tag video actually, are Fever Dream by George R.R. Martin. Big fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, and I want to try something outside of that world. So I found this and I definitely want to try it. And also Ghost Written by David Mitchell. I've read 3 of his books. 2 of them are, some of my favorite books I've ever read. So I really want to continue reading more David Mitchell. So they're the 2 most recent ones I've bought. Question 4, a book you've had forever but haven't read yet. The first one that comes to mind is House of Suns by Alistair Reynolds. I'm a big Alistair Reynolds fan. I've read the Revelation Space series, at least the main novels within that series, and I've read one of his standalones called Aversion, which I also really loved. I highly recommend that book, by the way. It's like 350, it's standalone, it's brilliant. And I've heard wonderful things about this one. He has quite a few standalone sci-fi books. This is supposed to be one of the best, so I'm highly eager to get to this. I'm going to try and make this a priority for next year. But also one that I've had on my shelf for maybe 4 years, I think 4 years, is Iron Gold by Pierce Brown, the 4th book in Red Rising. So I read the first 3, which make up their own trilogy, and I enjoyed them. I wouldn't say I was absolutely ecstatic about them. I wasn't in love with them. I enjoyed them. I thought they were solid. And I thought, you know, the next 4 books coming out, I'm going to wait until the final one is released before I start the next sub-series within Red Rising. And that still hasn't happened, so I still haven't started this book. I'm also just not amazingly eager to get into it anyway. I will do one day, I'm just not sure when, so this might be on here for a little while longer. Prompt number 5, a book a friend recommended to you that you haven't read yet. If we're talking about people in my real life, not a huge amount of them, because not that many people I know read these kind of books. I've got loads of recommendations from people on YouTube, obviously. But I do run a book club, a sci-fi fantasy book club here in Reykjavik. So I do get a few suggestions from them. And one that is really calling out to me is A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martin. I believe that's a duology series as well. Kind of quite high sci-fi, which is my bag again. So I am interested in that, but no idea when I'm going to read it. And also Dreams of the Dying by Nicholas Lietzau. I think that's how you say his name. Apology if it's not. I've heard some people talk about it on YouTube and say it's great. This guy who recommended it to me, his German, and the author is German, so that's really fun as well. I don't think I've read any German authors. So yeah, again, that is on the long-term TBR. I will get there one day. And another one, talking of David Mitchell, is whenever I go over to my brother's house, I always look at his shelves. Gav, hello. And I talked to him quite a bit about David Mitchell, and he has a book called Slade House, which I wanted to pick up, but he was like, you need to read The Bone Clocks first. He recommended that to me, and that's obviously become fairly, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't speak. Fairly popular on YouTube recently, especially thanks to people like Jimmy Nuts. So I really want to read that, and I definitely will at least next year. If not next year, then the year after, because I love David Mitchell. Prompt number 6, a book you're procrastinating on. Excellent question. And the easy answer would be again to say so bloody many, hundreds even. You know, there's so many I want to read, but other stuff takes my fancy, so other stuff gets pushed down the line. But there are 2 series in particular that I can answer this question with. And you could probably guess if I say they are both extremely complex. So the first one, the obvious one, is Malazan Book of the Fallen, this huge 10-book series. That's just the main series of extremely, well, what I've heard is that they're extremely difficult to read, and they're huge, and it's a long series, but it sounds amazing to me. So I really want to read it. I kind of just wanted to get my reading chops up before I got there. I think I'm ready, and I am going to start it next year. I don't know when in the year, but I'm making it a priority to start this series next year. And the other one is The Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe, a very difficult sounding sci-fi series, 4 books. The books are small, but apparently it's just so complicated that it is hard to know what's going on. But I am extremely interested, and again, I've been pushing it down the road. So maybe next year, I'm not sure. We'll have to see how it goes with university and life and everything, but I really, really want to read that series. Another one I'm kind of procrastinating on is just more Ian Banks. He is my favorite author of all time, but I kind of like to own his books physically, and I like to buy things secondhand, so that's kind of procrastinating, waiting to see if I can find them out in the wild rather than just buying them and reading them straight away. But one that comes to mind especially is this book, Fearsome Engine. So this is under his sci-fi name, Ian M. Banks. I've read all of The Culture and it's my favorite sci-fi series ever. And he has 3 or 4, I can't quite remember, sci-fi books outside of that series. This is one of them. I picked it up a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years, I can't remember. And it's been sitting there waiting for me for a while. So I kind of don't want the sci-fi to end, but that's stupid because I can always reread. So I've been pushing that down the road. I've had this one for a while, Dead Air, which is one of his contemporary fiction books. Again, I've loved all 4 of the 5 of his contemporary books that I've read. So I'm kind of pushing this down the line a bit, but this will definitely be read next year. Both of them will. The 7th and final prompt is the next book on my TBR. Really easy to answer. The next one will be The House of Wounds by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I just finished Parable of the Talents by Octavia E. Butler this morning, so I will be starting this tonight. I read the first book of the trilogy up here, City of Lost Chances. I've read that twice, and I am now ready to continue with the trilogy because I absolutely loved that one. So yes, really looking forward to that. I'm also doing a buddy read with Bart over at Bart's Bookspace and Whitney at The Secret Source of Storycraft. We are reading together Use of Weapons by Ian M. Banks. This is my favourite sci-fi series ever. This is my favourite author ever. I will not stop talking about him because I love him. This is one of my favourite books of all time. So when I saw that they were doing a buddy read of this, I had to join in. So yeah, I'm 100 pages in, absolutely loving it, and I will be finishing this with them in about a week's time as we read about 50 pages a day. I'm not sure if we're going to have a chat about it. I would be very happy to if they want to, because again, more people need to talk about this author and this series. So they are my current and soon to be read. So if you've made it this far into the video, I thank you so much for watching. Again, I just wanted to squeeze this one in before I do my Earthseed review and some more ideas I've got coming up. Thank you again, Shannon, for tagging me. Don't stop the tagging. I might not do all of them, but I will try and get to some of them. And yes, I'm supposed to tag people. This is where I fail because I don't really know who I should tag. You know, I don't know who's going to do them. The people I tagged last haven't done that tag, but I'm going to do them again because I like them. I want to hear what they have to say. So I'm going to tag Nev over at Nev's book channel. I know he's been away for a while, but maybe he can come back to it later. I'm going to tag Rachel, over at Reading Fairy. And I'm going to tag Lady Mare Reads as well, because I really like her content and I want to know what she's got on her shelves to come up. So yes, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe and all of that nonsense. I've had a lot of new subscribers recently, so thank you so much for joining my journey. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe and I'll see you in another video soon. Thank you and goodbye.